Eating candy and popcorn, looking at cinema. Watching movies with my best friend, looking at cinema. Thrills and chills and screams and dreams all up on the big screen. Tommy Wiseau and the Coens, looking at cinema. Stanley Kubrick, Joe Dorowski, looking at cinema.
So like if you send a message to yourself back in time and then that changes the future, then you would never have to have made that message, and the you that made the message doesn't even exist anymore. So how did the message get back to you in the first place?
And then if you cease to exist, why does it start with your hands? And why do you just gradually disappear? If you stopped existing, wouldn't you just stop existing?
Yeah, why would the photograph just slowly disappear?
And then
you would have either never existed in the photograph or you would exist in the photograph. It wouldn't be like a kind of exist in the photograph.
With half a head, there's like, okay, if I solve this problem, then my brother will only have no head, but he can still go on and live a normal life without a head.
You go and you like you're your own grandpa, and you like
grandpa, and then
you go in the
you don't even exist anymore.
Right, and you go in the past, and then like what if it's you that like impregnated your mom, and then that made you, and it's like where did you come from? Are you a circle?
He goes back in time to stop this guy from creating a virus,
right?
But ends up being the person that gave him the idea to create the virus.
Right.
But how did he end up creating that? How did he end up causing it in the first place then?
And then what about like, because the Earth moves, like if you're going back in time at a certain point when the Earth has moved, you might appear in space and then you die, or you're like
going to flop down onto the ground in some
it doesn't make any
country.
sense.
Someone's going to say, "Oh, who is this? Oh, they must have been a time
like, what if
traveler."
you go into the future and then you change the future, and then why would you need to go into the future and change it if it's already been changed? Because you changed it, in the future. And he's like, "Whoa, where's my arm going?" But he would live the whole life where he didn't have an arm, and it wouldn't have been a shock to him because he would have never had it.
Past people change the future because the future people told them to.
Didn't change the past. It always happened that way. He just didn't know how it actually happened. So when he went into the past, it would be like trying to go back and save Lincoln, but you end up like allowing Lincoln to get shot. But that's almost more logical because that's just the past, and you can't change the past. That's just how it always happened.
So describe the most logical way of time travel? What's the...
Oh, it's impossible.
I'm Zach.
Now I'm overthinking it.
And this is Looking at Cinema.
Dang it. Okay. All right. Ready?
All right.
And I'm Adam.
And I'm Zach.
And this is Looking at Cinema. What are we looking at today, Zach?
I'm already confused. Identity.
You should be confused because time travel is a very confusing subject.
We're looking at Tomorrow War.
Yesterday's Future War.
Future War.
Future War. I keep wanting to call it Future War.
Tomorrow War.
I'm so sorry, Chris Pratt.
So this is a war that's happening tomorrow.
Yes.
We're okay today.
But you should prepare.
You should prepare for tomorrow.
The war.
Because things are going to be bad.
There will be a war. There's not yet. There won't have been.
There is.
If things go right, there won't have been a war. But right now, there will be.
As of right now, there will be a war tomorrow. But if we act correctly in the future and in the past, simultaneously,
there won't
have been.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think we solved it.
We've solved it. That's you really.
Oh, sorry, spoilers.
You don't need to see the movie. We fixed it. Okay. Tomorrow War, rated PG-13, 2 hours and 20 minutes.
It's a long one.
It's long.
Yeah. That's been a theme like lately. Is there a thing like movies used to be shorter? I don't know what's going on.
Why they have to be so long now? I don't know.
Every movie's over 2 hours.
It seems like you'd make more money if a movie was shorter.
Yeah.
It's a less of an investment. But 2 hours and 20 minutes, that's what was needed to tell this story.
Yeah. I wonder if it has to do with streaming and them not having to compete with other cinemas. And
movies have been along for a long time.
Have they?
Like, I think maybe what happened was there were some really long movies came out, and those were always really critically acclaimed. And so people thought,
usually they're long
because just pack a lot into this movie and make it longer.
Yeah,
people will love it.
They're kind of missing the point of longer movies are long because they had a lot to say.
Yeah,
not just
I remember like Gladiator being super long.
That was a good one. That
was worth the time. When we'll talk later about if this one was worth 2 hours.
So tell us a little bit about this 2 hour and 20-minute movie.
Well, it came out on July 2nd. You can see it on Amazon Prime. It was originally supposed to be distributed by Paramount, and I want to make sure to give Paramount credit.
Oh, you don't have your Paramount shirt this time?
I don't, because I should have worn it. I had to wash it.
No, I appreciate that you didn't wear it again already.
But I want to make sure to give Paramount credit because they're all over us for using their footage. So I want to make sure
get on their good graces.
This is Amazon and it's Paramount. But Amazon purchased the rights to it and put it out on July 2nd. It was written by Zach Dean. It was a relatively unknown writer.
Hasn't done anything.
He's done nothing that I've heard of.
Gotcha.
Maybe he's done something that resonates with some people, but when I was looking through what he's written, nothing stood out to me. And directed by Chris McKay, which the one thing he directed that stood out was the Lego Batman movies.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which were pretty good movies.
I don't remember the Batman.
Oh, I never saw the Batman. I did see the Lego one.
I saw the original one, which Batman was in.
Yeah, he was like a cameo.
Yeah, and then they made a whole movie about the Batman.
It was very popular, though.
Yeah.
It was also like all CG, right? That must be very different than... I mean, there's a lot of CG in this movie, but...
Yeah.
That must be very different directing a CG movie versus a live-action film.
I don't know. I don't know these days. Because there's a ton in this movie. I mean, it was an animated movie, and so you're dealing with like voice acting, and that's a whole other thing, I'm sure. But anyway, Tomorrow War soldiers from 2015 come back in time to inform the world that they are losing a war with aliens and need help to fight the war due to the ever dwindling human population. That's basically it. We have Chris Pratt plays Dan Forrester, who is a former soldier, high school teacher, scientist, who gets drafted into the war, and that's kind of what kicks off the story.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the overall structure of the story, because that's going to be important to how this plays out.
Yeah. So, I mean, first off, I just want to say there are some interesting things in this movie.
Yeah.
And in the first 30 minutes, it throws a lot at you, though, and it's very overwhelming. And it kind of, we're not going to go over the whole plot, but just as far as like the first 30 minutes or so, it throws a lot at you really quickly, and it comes across as like, I don't know, it didn't feel realistic just because they were throwing so much at you so quickly.
Yeah.
But there is like a lot of interesting science fiction ideas in here that I almost like the first 30 minutes of the movie could have been a whole movie, and how the societal ramifications of people coming from the future and how the governments reacted. I didn't expect that to be such a big conceit of the movie, but there was like a lot going on there with like the government like globally like cracking down and doing like a draft and things like that. So it deals with some crazy concepts, but it just kind of quickly sidesteps that and becomes sort of an action movie for the like next hour and a half, basically.
Yeah.
It's that's the structure, is like a lot of like setting up the first 30 minutes and then throwing you in and then just action. Like, okay, action movie.
Yeah.
Then summing it up at the end.
It felt like it was just like, here's everything you need to know so that we can get into the action of the story. And there was a lot of interesting things in the what you need to know portion.
Yeah, that I wish wasn't just over. Exactly.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see that fleshed out.
Yeah, like the global reaction would have been, that could have been a movie on its own.
Yeah.
And
having like camps of people not believing it's real, or having that mystery of like, is this real? Is this a manipulation of society? And that tied into interesting things. But
like, can you imagine if they had done it and they never went to the future? Like there was never even like going to the future. It was just like a questioning of if it was real, because that's where they were. Yeah, that was the story to the people in that.
Exactly.
That found out, like, these people just came out of nowhere.
And they all accepted it so quickly. Yeah. And, like, that's my main disappointment in the movie and how it's structured, is, like, I wanted more of that stuff at the beginning. and less of just the shooty shoot alien like stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the movie is as good there. And it makes me wonder, what the original script was like versus the studio final product, that we got. Because I feel like there is whoever wrote the script was thinking about a lot of interesting things. But I feel like it got scrubbed out to just be like, Chris Pratt, shooty shoot. And that became the movie.
Yeah, that's true. Because, you don't just like come up with these interesting ideas and just throw them away. And that does seem like the kind of thing that like the studio came in and decided what's going to make this a big blockbuster type of thing. And and to me that always gets boring. I find myself like having a hard time following a story like that because I kind of check out in the shooty shoot parts.
A little bit, yeah. Sometimes it's fun, but it's like an accentuation mark on a bigger plot, like that those impactful moments like only really have impact if you care about the characters and what's going on to a point, like in something like Quiet Place where it's all built up slowly and you care about these people and it's not just like shooty shoot.
And speaking of that, it took a really long time to get to a point where you cared about the characters.
Yeah.
To me anyway, like for me, like a story is only worth following to me if it deals with some complexity of human emotion or response to something. And that doesn't really show up in any meaningful way until a good 45 minutes to an hour into the movie. Maybe it was less, but it felt like it was like, oh, wow. Okay.
So like when he meets a certain person in the future.
Right. I don't want to spoil too much, but
it's weak characterization at the beginning. It's just like his main plot in the first 5 minutes is like, oh, I didn't get a job or I'm angry. You know, but he has a great life and you're just like, why is he upset about this? And
I wanted to talk about that. I don't know if this doesn't follow into the story structure discussion. Maybe,
I mean, a little bit because it's supposed to pull you into the movie and the characters at this point, and I just,
And the that type of character, I feel like it's the generic person.
He's very generic person.
But I don't think that person even actually exists. I think we've just seen it so many times in movies that, like, we just accept that that's, that's the everyman.
Yeah. And of course, ex-military, just because he needs to know how to shooty shoot. It didn't really feel like a part of his character.
Yes.
That
was...
and school teacher, because everyone likes school teachers.
He hits all the checkpoints to make you love him.
Almost Indiana Jones-ish, but without the charm, also a school teacher that does adventure.
He's a school teacher. He's a cool school teacher who recognizes when his kids are checked out and like, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's not talk about
and
this.
We'll have to have a spoiler section at the end of this movie because there are plot details about that I want to talk to you about, but we'll save that for the end. So we will keep it spoiler free. Other than, of course, people are coming from the future, so we will say that.
That's the premise. So that's not a spoiler. If you don't know that going in, then you're going to be very, very confused.
Yeah.
It's Tomorrow War.
Yep. It's got war in it.
Yeah. So I don't think that's a spoiler. What do you think the major overall themes were of the movie without spoiling anything?
Well, again, I feel like there's two different movies. Like the themes of the beginning was like government overreach and can you trust the government? And like it had some interesting themes at the beginning that, again, just got brushed over. The real theme of the movie is like, I don't know. I really don't like. It was about like loving your family, kind of ultimately.
Yeah.
But it didn't really like sell me on that throughout the movie. I don't know if it was really about that. It was just that was in there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what it was really about. That's actually a hard question to answer because I don't feel like it had a unifying theme so much. Really.
Yeah. I mean, as far as human relationship goes, which is always what I tend to focus on in any story.
Yeah.
It seemed to be focused on, the idea of looking at someone else's life and choices and judging those as if you couldn't end up in the same situation.
Sure.
And so you see that kind of play out, and that was...
Because it deals with his dad, and he's also dealing with issues with his daughter.
Right.
And his family, his current family. So it's like 3 generational things that are going on with them all learning to accept each other, kind of. You know, there's some like learning to accept your family and learning to accept differences kind of going on.
Yeah.
And like responsibility in the family. It just didn't, like, again, I feel like most of the movie, it's like a 2-hour, 20-minute movie. For like an hour and a half of it, it's just, there's none of that.
Right.
And then they just kind of cram that in at the beginning and the ending, kind of, you know?
Yeah, it's like they kind of introduce some things at the beginning so that when it gets to that at the end, you're like, oh, so that's why that happened.
Yeah. So,
and makes you feel like you were onto something deeper, but it was really just kind of...
Which is disappointing, because it's a fun, like, I want to say, first off, it was a fun movie, and I actually watched it with a group of people, which I think is the way to do it.
Yeah.
I watched this on July 4th, and it was fun. Fireworks were, like, going off, and we were, like, pausing it to watch fireworks, and then, and it was long. Like, you really felt the length, like, for sure. But it was fun to watch. It was like a roller coaster kind of ride, but there were cool ideas in there I wish it could have been more, you know, and it was disappointing in that way that I didn't get to see all those ideas explored, you know, and the like family stuff I feel like could have been fleshed out more. For sure.
Yeah. There's definitely, well, I want to go back to, you were talking about government overreach in the beginning, because I guess I kind of pick up on that at the beginning.
Well, the movie doesn't focus on it. It's sort of in the background, and and that was almost the creepy part to me about it, because it came across as like propaganda almost, because they're just like, this is just what would happen, and this is cool, and this is fine. And I was like, whoa, slow down. Like, why aren't the characters in the movie questioning what's happening here? Everyone just accepted it so quickly, and they sort of jump ahead to be like, well, yeah, this is what would happen now. And like that was where the interesting stuff would have been mined, I feel like from the plot. But it doesn't focus on that. But if you just look at what's happening, it is crazy.
Like the news stories, but if you look at him, I thought that was kind of realistic too, though, because in a situation like that where there's no real imminent danger to yourself,
you don't see like the danger.
I think the general response for most people is just to go about life and pretend that
pretend it's not. Well,
that's kind of what he was doing. But you do see all of that other stuff going on in the background, and then he does get pulled
into it. When it deals with like a global draft, like non-voluntary draft, and if your number comes up, you have to go to war. That's like in the first 20, 30 minutes they deal with that. And that's a huge deal, like that. And that was like, no one in the movie ever questioned it or said. There was some like negativity around the idea, but no one was really like pushing back against it or saying this is wrong, or it was just like, we got to save the day, and we got, like, okay, and no one was like questioning the whole time travel thing, really. Like, everyone just accepted. There's like a moment when he sees the first broadcast of like the time travelers coming, and he's like, is this real or something? Like, he says that to the TV, and that was the only time anyone in the movie showed disbelief or like, it just didn't feel realistic. I didn't feel like they didn't explore those. Yeah,
and I think that might be just an overall problem with the story itself, because had people thought about the time travel, the possibility of time travel, and that these people came from the future, and really thought about that reality, then the idea of jumping to the future to fight that war is just stupid.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we want to it's not really spoilers, but like the conceit is that if you were going to be dead before this future war started, like if you were alive today and you were going to die before that war started, then they could recruit you to be an extra body in the war, which I get that.
Right.
It makes sort of sense. It still has time travel plot holes that we can get into spoilers, but it just, it's just silly. It's a little silly, and it is an interesting idea, and I feel like if they had taken more time to just explore why is this the solution, the mechanics of it a little bit more, it could have been a more interesting movie than it turned out to be.
Yeah. I don't know. We might have to go into our spoiler section to talk about that more in depth.
Yeah.
But
we'll put a pin on that.
Yeah, we'll put a pin on that. I did want to say that it did make an interesting case for why we should take global warming seriously.
Yeah, well, that's what I felt like the whole movie was a metaphor for global warming, because that's the future war that now, the governments are trying to get us to fight, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, we don't have to get off on our beliefs on that, but
okay.
I do think that was the overall metaphor. Yeah, definitely. That is the future war, is the global warming that we're going to lose in the future if we don't take action today. I feel like it was a little heavy-handed, in the way it. Yeah, and it did feel like there was some maybe COVID references too, because there's a vaccine that they talk about, and the daughter references vaccines sort of randomly that isn't really explained.
Oh,
where she's really fascinated by vaccines for some reason, and is digging for vaccines at one point because the worm dirt made someone discovered a vaccine from. So yes, there was some. They were trying to get more interesting ideas in there, but they didn't really explore them.
Big movies typically try to hit on the big topics of the day, and in most of the time do it in an either dumb or heavy-handed way.
Yeah. It does feel like it was added after the fact, kind of, to reference it and just have the word vaccine in there.
Yeah, well, I think the vaccine element was important to the story.
Could, a little bit, yeah.
But the global warming aspect of it was a little okay. That seems like it just came out of nowhere.
Because volcanoes and things gets referenced randomly, and I'm like, that's coming back later.
Yeah.
I called the ending of the movie too. I was like, yep. Anyway, I don't want to say, but yeah.
So, is there anything to really talk about as far as visual elements or cinematography? Anything that stood out to you other than the terrible CG jump scene?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I mean, I didn't think that was terrible.
I thought it was terrible.
You thought it was pretty
It felt like a video game.
Where they go to there was a lot of video gamey stuff, I felt like, for sure. I thought the creatures looked really cool. The reveal of the creatures I thought was done really well.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know if it held up throughout the whole movie. But it was a cool, when you first see the alien and the creature, you're like, oh, that's pretty freaky and that's different, It did a good job of that, which could have been completely terrible, easily.
Yeah.
So I thought that was okay, Yeah. As far as because a lot of the movie is a war movie, basically. And I didn't really buy all the different individual characters that's part of their platoon. And a lot of them were that was another unrealistic element of the movie, was they didn't really train these people up very well, but then they're battling these aliens. I wanted to see more of them getting their weapons jammed and not being able to reload in time and running into these mechanical issues that none of them seem to have throughout most of the movie.
They did a little bit.
I think at the very end, one person's gun gets jammed or something.
Oh, well, I mean, it was pretty clear how incompetent they were. I felt like, other than their ability to follow military commands, instinctively.
Yeah. See, because that could have been more, if that was more fleshed out, that could have been more interesting. Dealing with them not being trained and struggling with it and getting better, and some of them failing, and there was none of, there was no real character development within that squad. It's just kind of implied of oh yeah, they suck at it, and some of them are gonna die. And
I liked that the aliens had a projectile element to their fighting,
and they didn't use that through most of the movie. That was a couple key moments, where they used it. But I feel like the aliens forgot they had that ability for most of the movie, because they have tentacles and they whip a spike at you.
Yeah, so it's basically fighting aliens with guns. Aliens that have guns, basically, because they can shoot these spikes at you.
Yeah, they're organic guns, basically. And they don't use it for most of the movie. It's only a couple times when it's important to the plot element that it happens. Basically.
They're mostly ineffective with it.
Yeah. But it was an interesting idea.
They must not have much training either.
Yeah. Yep. They're
true. Just accountants trying to throw guns around.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we could do this.
I can throw a spike? Holy crap. Chris Pratt, you're going down now.
Down now. This is a whole new game.
That's funny.
So we talked about the character development, believability a little bit. But let's talk kind of specifically about those characters. Because one thing for me is for Chris Pratt in this movie was not a typical Chris Pratt character.
How do you mean? What do you mean?
He wasn't the comic relief. He's typically...
True. That's true.
That's his biggest strength in any movie that he's in, is his ability to turn, make light of a situation and bring comedy into a tense moment or something like that. And they don't use him for that. It seems very intentionally they don't use him for that.
Yeah.
Because Sam Richardson comes in, who basically is the Chris Pratt character. Sam Richardson.
No,
he was the black guy. He was other scientist.
He was like the nerdy scientist guy,
the research and development guy.
I liked his character too.
He was like the Chris Pratt character that talked about the kind of the absurdity of some of the things that they were doing, and he also kind of explained some of the time travel elements that the viewer needed to understand.
Yeah.
And I liked his character. I liked him. I typically like him. I remember him from Veep, and he works a lot with like Tim Robinson on I Think You Should Leave on Netflix. Have you seen that?
Okay, no, I wasn't familiar with him at all. And I thought,
really?
Yeah, he was really good.
Oh yeah, he's really funny.
But I do think it hurt Chris Pratt's performance, because I didn't feel his character through a lot of it.
Right.
I mean, towards the end, I think he did okay with some of those emotional scenes and whatnot, but I just don't. He didn't feel like a leading man should have, I guess, in this type of movie for most of it. It was good. It was serviceable. It wasn't anything to write home about or memorable like his previous characters.
Yeah, what's his Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy? That was a great character.
Who has so much attitude and so much character. This one just feels more generic. Yeah. And like you said, I think that wasn't his fault necessarily. I do think that's how he was directed to be in the movie, is just be more everyman, be more generic.
Yeah.
And it hurt the movie a little bit.
No, seriously, looking in his face, I was like, he's doing a face that's not even his face. It's he's trying to be this character that's so... I don't even think a
serious.
Real character. And then, but definitely not in the realm of characters he typically plays. And
it wasn't natural.
And I can see wanting to get out of being typecast into the comedic roles, but I didn't.
This wasn't the type of movie for it.
This wasn't the type of movie.
Because this is a big dumb blockbuster. He should have just been fun Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Why not?
I don't know what it would have taken from this movie if he had been if he had some, lighter elements to him.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but it didn't work completely, that's for sure.
Yeah. But no, Sam Richardson was my favorite part of the movie.
And I liked who was his dad?
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons was great. I want to see a movie about his character. He was the most interesting character to me in the whole movie.
Yeah, he was.
They could have explored that more.
The genius,
and he anti-government guy who was knew how to use technology and was rich by means that we weren't really sure how he was getting all these funds, which kind of comes up in the plot, but he was just very in and out. He was at the intro and he's at the end, and there's not a lot, going on there. But I would have loved to have seen more to his character. He was really fun. He was fun in a way that Chris Pratt's character wasn't. Yeah. And was just interesting because you wanted to know more about what he was up to, and he was freaking built in this movie. I don't think I've never seen him so jacked. Yeah. I don't know if he did that just for this movie or if he's just been working out, but damn, dude is built. He could have destroyed Chris Pratt if he wanted to. The
interesting thing about J.K. Simmons lately is as he gets older, he gets more action type character.
Dude, that's a role model right there. I want to be like him. I've been working out more. I need to step up my game to get like that dude, man.
Yeah, I didn't particularly like that character. I thought it was he was a device.
Well, the way he was used was cheap. But his character was interesting. It just wasn't
a movie about that character.
It wasn't done very well in this movie. Yeah, I agree. He was thrown in there just as a convenience. Like
he had kind of a Ted Kaczynski mentality, but a little more
a more moral Ted Kaczynski.
A more moral Ted Kaczynski.
I mean, he wasn't hurting anyone. He was just, look, Ted Kaczynski had some good points. He just he was just crazy.
If you take nothing else from this show, it just Ted Kaczynski had some good points.
Watch, YouTube will not strike us for that comment. But yeah, no, I wanted to see the Ted Kaczynski, Richard Simmons.
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons.
Richard Simmons also liked to work out and was pretty jacked.
He was not as jacked, but yeah. Also more flamboyant and more interesting to watch than Chris Pratt in this movie. Anyway, this is a little longer than our normal, probably looking at cinema, I'm guessing. But
oh, yeah, we've gone on for a while.
I don't know where we're at.
Surprised we went on for so long.
Hey, look, it was a fun movie, no matter what you say about it.
Yeah.
There was things in this movie to talk about at the end of the day, which is, more than a lot of movies. So
overall,
at least it has that.
You say it's worth
Oh,
seeing.
Definitely. Check it out. It's a fun movie. It's not depressing, although it has some of those elements.
It doesn't have the ability to be depressing because it doesn't have the depth to be depressing.
Well, just most modern sci-fi is very depressing and very like a dystopian future. Mm-hmm. And this has that element, but it's more about fighting that dystopian.
It's fighting that, yeah. It's so like you can do something about it, kind of.
So I did like it, and it has interesting things to talk about. It's a good movie to watch with a group of friends. And like hang out and chat about it. Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah, that's great,
joke. We did that a little bit and joked along with it, and it was a blast. And we were like guessing, like, oh, this is gonna happen. It's a fun movie as a movie. It's a popcorn flick.
Exactly. I guess so. I was gonna shit on it a little more, but you're right. It has its place. It's not. Don't expect like this. High achievement.
It's not
cinema.
2001: A Space Odyssey.
It's not anything special. It's probably not a whole lot that you haven't seen before, but it is fun, and it is fun to watch with
definitely
with people.
The worst part about it is just how good it could have been. Yeah. If it had. Again, I don't know the history of it, but it just feels like a script that was manipulated to hell by a studio that may have been a lot better in the original stages. So I'd look out. Maybe the scriptwriter will get since I assume this movie's sort of successful. I haven't looked up
it just came
box
out
office.
Well, it's hard to say now because movies coming out on box office and streaming and stuff.
Yeah, it's different.
It's a lot harder to track the success of a movie now.
Yeah. But I do hope we see, at least as far as science fiction goes, it had interesting elements that I'd never seen before. It's just I wish that had been what the movie was about and not just
focusing on the easy stuff.
Silly action, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that. Tomorrow War, 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
If it was a Zack Snyder movie, in about a month we'd be getting a 4-hour director's cut version of it, and that would probably explain why it was so bad.
Yeah, that would have filled in all the time travel plot holes.
Yeah. But it's not. So it is what it is. It's a fun enough movie, but just don't expect anything new.
Yeah. So spoilers?
We want to go into spoilers now. Yes. So
spoilers. I'll have like a sound effect or something here, like an alarm.
Yeah.
Watch out. Hey. Hey, look out. Hey. Hey, there's spoilers. Look out. All right. I think we're good. People know.
You're about to spoil that movie.
That's a good quote. That's just going to come in every future episode now. Hey, you about to spoil them. But for real, okay, we're in spoilers now.
Okay.
The whole convenience of having sorry, I'm cussing. The whole convenience of having the kid who knows about volcanoes that they can go to at the very end of the movie, and tie up all those loose ends. Oh, it was just so convenient. It was so annoying.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, that's not even getting into time travel plot holes, but just, man, that was so silly.
It was silly in the beginning of the movie when they introduced him.
Yeah, because you knew. It was
this serves a purpose because this is a stupid thing to talk about.
That's why, because I predicted that the aliens were underground. Because he mentioned volcanoes at the very beginning, I was like, why is no one saying that they could be from underground? Everyone had all these theories about where they came from and shit. I'm like, they're just underground.
Yeah.
Has no one thought to look underground? And then they find them underground.
They're no scientists.
Seriously.
The only person in the world who studied volcanoes was this one kid in this high school.
One that Chris Pratt's character was the only one to think about this. Him and his wife, like at the end of the movie, are like spitballing, and they're like, "So yeah,
the kids to bed. Let's solve this.
Let's just solve this. So the whole world's had this problem, and by the way, let's just chat about it. And in 10 minutes,
turns out our daughter's gonna die in this war, so maybe we should take it seriously. Oh,
yeah.
Wait a minute. What about underground?
Oh, wait, I have just the guy to talk to. It was just so convenient.
Yeah.
Like, I liked that they solved the problem at the end, and that was kind of the message of the movie, like going back to the government thing, which I do think this was probably in the original script more, because it was about the government couldn't solve the problem, really. They had to do it individually as individuals and figure it out.
Yeah.
And they ended up, solving the deal at the end in the present, before it becomes a problem in the future, So I did like that element. It felt so convenient to set that up.
Yeah.
But then I liked the ending. I just didn't like how they got there. Yeah. It was so stupid.
Yeah. So the government was basically like ready to wash their hands of the situation.
Yeah.
They lost ties with the future world.
Yeah.
And apparently felt no responsibility for...
All right, and that's it.
Well, we did what we could.
All right.
Sorry, future people.
They just stopped preparing for and that's,
Yeah, there was apparently no research or anything going on trying to figure out how this happened.
They knew they appeared in Russia, but none of them thought to look around Russia for them or, which is very silly.
Yeah.
And that's ignoring the time travel issues of how do people come back from the future when the future's been changed by the past, so now they don't have to come back anymore, and he gets a vial from the future and takes it to the past, but when they solve the problem, they wouldn't create the vial in the future anymore, so it just creates...
There's all kinds of different
That's just going to happen in most time travel movies, and I can forgive that,
Every time travel movie has a theory of time travel. That, and most of them
or don't have a theory at all.
This one didn't seem to have one. It
really
had about as much time travel relevance as Back to the Future did.
Yeah. And and Back to the Future did it better.
Yeah.
You didn't feel those glaring time travel issues like you did in this movie.
Yeah.
In that one. But again, I could have forgiven the time travel stuff. It was actually the other plot elements that were so unrealistic that bothered me, like the convenience that they solved the problem and that they knew the volcano guy who just happened to know exactly what they needed to know at the right time, and he had the dad that had all the stuff that he needed to do this, and just so many convenient things that did not feel earned. That's the most frustrating part to me. Not even the time travel stuff.
The kid in the high school just felt like trying to celebrate the geek in school that feels like no one appreciates him. And it's like, I can be a hero of this crazy situation.
He was Peter Parker.
That just happened to need the one thing that I've dedicated my entire adolescence to studying.
Yeah.
Like, then they even commented
Japanese hentai porn? You mean my obsession with that can now save the world? Awesome. It really felt that silly. Yeah. It really did.
They even they did comment on it. The guy was like, I would have killed for a moment like this in high school.
Yeah.
It was dumb. And
that also felt like another of the studio hand of that was their bridge between the different versions of the script that had been created, and they just needed this thing to happen to make sense of the ending that had already been written. I felt like I could see the different versions of the movie kind of coexisting.
That introduction in the beginning definitely felt added in to make the ending make sense. It was not something that was 100%. Part of the whole story. It was okay, we need to introduce this in the beginning so that this kid makes sense, and then we can also throw it into a teenage angst retribution kind of situation as well.
Yep. And that also, to go back to what you said, when they teleport in and they're in the wrong place and they're all falling.
Yeah.
They start the movie with that, which is also a weird choice. Like, why throw us around?
Yeah.
It was just weird stuff like that to like get you in the action. It's an action movie, you know. It just felt like they kept doing stuff like that totally unnecessarily, and they're just like, all right. And again, it's already a 2 hour and 20-minute movie, and they're gonna show a scene again that we're gonna see later. It was like, whose decision was
like
that?
Pure marketing.
It was.
Like, okay.
It was.
People are gonna click on this movie on Amazon Prime.
That's what it is.
And then when they go into it, we want to make sure they know they're watching the right movie.
Holy crap. No, you're right. And I actually wondered that. I was like, are we in the right movie? It felt, I was kind of confused by it, actually. But I think you're right, because it's a click thing, not a going to the cinema.
Yeah, and buying a ticket, and they maybe pull out your ticket and say, okay, no,
it's a click like, ooh, shiny things at the beginning. Okay, you know, I do think you're right. I think that's why it was there.
Yeah. So I hope that doesn't become a thing.
Yeah, me either. It was just like now if you watch a trailer, there's a trailer to the trailer before you watch the trailer. Have you seen this?
No.
Like most movies now, if you go search the trailer on YouTube or if you see it in theaters, there'll be like a 3-second trailer, boom, 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 boom. And they'll be like, you're now watching the trailer for this movie. And then it'll show you the trailer with some of the clips from that intro part. So it does feel like that is now part of the movie, where they show you a trailer for the exciting part of the movie and then start the movie. Yeah.
What have we become?
I don't know.
I'm not entertained yet.
Are you entertained?
I started this movie 3 seconds ago and I haven't seen anyone get killed yet.
Bored. Next movie, bored. No, I do think that's a problem. I do think that. Yeah. I mean, there'll always be people making cool independent movies that probably won't fall into that trap. But
but I guess
that's the thing.
As mediums and technology continues to advance, the marketing is still going to kind of exploit that as much as they can.
And support cinemas, because like I do want to go to the movies, and I like watching movies at the movies. So let's fight that trend by actually supporting people at the box office when it's available.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not available a whole lot yet, so.
I'm not as big on that fight.
Really?
As you think I might
let
be,
that go.
Having spent 17 years working at a movie theater.
Yeah. To you, it's a little bit like Nam. Like, I don't know, man. I'm a little shell-shocked. I can't go back.
I always loved working at the theater.
Cool.
I've had some bad times there, and it got a little less fun as I got higher up in management.
Of course.
But... Yeah. It was always a fun job, and I always enjoyed that aspect of it. What I just don't like big, corporations. And there's no small theaters anymore.
Yeah, and I mean we have some. There's Sunray Cinema locally.
We do. We have two.
Support your local cinema.
Support
That's
your
a big
local
thing.
Theater
that'll play independent films and play weird midnight movies and that's where it's at.
Yeah, I'm all about that.
Yeah, we should go to Sunray more. Actually.
We should.
Yeah, let's make that a thing.
Yeah.
We'll have to film some of that.
Yeah.
I'll cut this out.
Regal and AMC will be fine.
Yeah.
AMC particularly will be fine.
They're part of the whole GameStop thing. Yeah.
But I don't want to say I'm anti-theater. But
it's just not you're not going to die on that hill.
I'm not going to die on that hill. I would rather die on support local business hill.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's about, supporting local business.
Yeah.
Which does affect even the big guys. Like,
it does.
You know, if you don't support your local AMC, that theater will also go away.
We're going down a very different rabbit hole here.
We are. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Support your local theaters.
But I like local movie theaters. They are way cooler. And if you like that experience of going to the movies, the local theater, like if you have like this nostalgic memory of going to the movies, you're more likely to get that at a local theater than at a big chain theater, because it's just more geared towards just the masses,
selling you crap,
bringing people in and selling you more stuff. So.
Well, anyway, cool. That's our PSA.
That's our PSA
for today
on movie theaters. But I definitely am all for going. I like movie theaters or not movie theaters. Movies are a community building thing. They should be done together.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Agreed.
Sitting and clicking on a link at home and watching it is not quite the same.
So in summation,
has nothing to do with anything.
Future Tomorrow Wars that happened later is pretty good, but not the best. But yeah, if you want a fun blockbuster, go check it out.
Yep.
That's pretty much it.
That's it. I'd say pretty bad, but not the worst.
Yeah. Pretty bad, but not the worst. That's going on the box.
Yeah.
That's a box quote right there. Ding. All right, cool. Everyone have a great day. Thanks for checking out our video. And like, subscribe, ring the bell.
Yeah. Do that.
And we'll catch you next time.
Yeah. All right.
Peace.
See ya.
I don't think we're going to use any of this.
They changed the future. The past people changed the future because the future people told them to.
I don't know what you just said, but that's going in the podcast somehow. That's going to be in that. I think this is enough. This is enough for us to use. This is plenty.